You're listening to The Alex Jones Show. From his Central Texas Command Center, deep behind enemy lines, the information war continues. It's Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
Joe Bannister's our guest. We're going to 20 after in overdrive here so we can get to John and Dylan and Aaron and Sheepdog and Ted and Jason. And have we talked to Jason yet, or is it Joseph's up next? Joseph, you're on the air with Joe Bannister. Go ahead.
Alex, my brother in tribulation, good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you, my friend.
Been listening to you a long time. I'm over here in the High River Valley, George Washington's stomping ground. He actually stayed in a house up the road here from where I live.
That's right. He surveyed that area, didn't he?
Yeah, he actually named the town that I live in, actually. But what I was calling in about, just corruption of the police, it seems countrywide, But in the past year, I've had state troopers come into my home. I had 3 guys burglarize my house. And one of them got hurt, didn't shoot him or anything. Anyway, like 17 cops show up, break in, and take my shotgun out of my wife's hand. And, that's nothing. I waved at some cops one day. It's just in the past few months, actually. They pull over, bugging their eyes out, oh, we're going to beat you down and all this stuff. But what I'm getting at is just probably about a month ago, I had a cop knock on my door, and he said, "Yo, State Police, open up." I said, "Well, do you have a warrant?" I asked him that, and I heard him out there, like, grunting and stuff. Within 3 seconds, they kicked my door in half, had me down the floor, started kneeing me in the back. They took me for 5 or 6 hours. Nobody even knew they had me, Essentially, they took me to jail, for asking them if they had a warrant.
Why were they there? Did some neighbor make something up, or what happened?
Well, I guess there was an altercation out on the street. Like a week before, my girlfriend was at church, and, she had, like, a problem with these girls. They came in, and I guess I made one of them mad. That was his excuse. He's like, "Oh, you're a smart aleck." So they made a plan. They come back the next week, and they planned it, But what I'm getting at, just the lawlessness, the law is all we have as a society. And these people are called law enforcement. They're supposed to enforce the law.
Well, sure. They're trying to hire, like the TSA ad said in Seattle, imperious people. That means arrogant, in your face. And it's a planned de-evolution. I appreciate your call. Let's get Joe Bannister's take on what you just brought up.
Well, as you mentioned, Alex, I have relatives in law enforcement. 2 of my brothers are police officers, and one's a battalion chief firefighter. My youngest brother, Jeff, the San Jose police officer, he was just at a funeral last week for a San Jose police officer who was shot with a rifle approaching basically a domestic disturbance call in San Jose. So, I can see it from both sides, and all I can do is try to really encourage both the police and the public, be professional, be calm.
Sure, society is degenerating. Every metric shows it. And George Soros wants us to have a war with police. What's your take on that?
Well, to resist that exact program, which is you're so right on to bring that up and let people know about it, so that we don't conduct ourselves and further that program. We need to resist it.
Yeah, they want us all to hate each other while the foreign banks loot us. It's real simple. It's like criminals will set a fire to rob a bank or to rob a warehouse to divert. They want a mini civil war to divert while they're robbing us. It's so elementary.
Exactly. And, the police, we need the police we need them to adhere to the Constitution and do their jobs and be polite and professional with the public. But by the same token, the public needs to, be good citizens and act like a good citizen, so that the police can see the difference. Now, you're still going to encounter, the tyrant cop, but don't think that applies to them all. The Bannister boys are out there, and they're good guys, and they see what it's like, what it's like to be a real cop and a good cop.
Absolutely. We're not going to play into the globalist civil war plan. or at least we're going to try not to. We're going to come to another break, final break, come back with Jason and everybody else, Sheepdog, you name it. Your calls are straight ahead in 3 minutes.
You pick up the receiver with your heart racing and sweat dripping from your forehead. You finally muster the courage to dial the number to call into your favorite talk radio show. It rings once, twice, and then...
Hello, it's GCN. What's your name and the state you're calling from?
Surprised you got through, you squeak out.
Jason from Minnesota.
Please hold.
As you patiently wait for your turn, you begin to daydream about being a famous talk radio host and what it would be like to have your own show.
Jason from Minnesota, you're up.
Millions of loyal listeners worldwide waiting to call and talk to you.
Caller, are you there?
Cheering crowds surround you, calling out your name.
Jason! Jason!
Going once, twice. Okay, we gotta move on to the next caller.
You blew it.
Huh? Wait, no!
Interact with the host you're listening to right now, online at GCNlive.com. Click on the community link. Engage with other listeners. Ask questions. Start debates. Don't agree with the host? Let them know. Be a part of the community at GCNlive.com.
From the water table to our soils to the atmosphere itself, our world is becoming more and more toxic each and every day. But it's not just the air outside that's toxic. Indoor air has been shown to have 2 to 5 times higher concentrations of pollutants than even outdoor air. And most Americans spend 90% of their time inside using toxic chemicals within their homes. There are more than 42 million smokers in the United States. Well over 1,000 types of mold and mildew linked to numerous conditions. And don't forget the fact that 6 million Americans live with pets they're allergic to as well. When I began to research these statistics, it was clear to me it was time to start cleansing my lungs in order to combat the toxic environment that we cannot escape, but that we can fight back against. Made with organic and wild cultivated herbs and manufactured in the USA, the new InfoWars Life Lung Cleanse is here in a convenient spray bottle that can be brought with you throughout any toxic environment. Now available exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.
So we decided to upgrade the look of our home.
You know, improve the curb appeal.
We decided to add the look of stone to the exterior.
We really like the stacked stone look.
Yeah, but when I checked into the price, it was ridiculous. No way could we afford it.
Then a friend told me about Genstone. Genstone.
Genstone comes in lightweight panels made of polyurethane. They've actually engineered the hassle out of installation. No mortar, no mesh. It was easy. Even I could do it.
We just screwed the panels to the wall and it looks like stone. I mean, it really looks like stone.
Yeah, from the box to the wall in minutes.
We love the look of our home now.
And Genstone is durable, comes with a 25-year warranty, and offers additional R-value for insulation.
If you want the look of stone at a price you can afford, call Genstone
at 855-955-STONE.
Trust me, you'll save money.
And you'll love the look.
855-955-STONE. That's 855-955-7866. He's the T-Rex of political talk. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
Joe Bannister, the former Treasury agent with the IRS who exposed the fact that it's all a giant fraud, is on with us live. One more segment. Let's go to Jason in Massachusetts, then Sheepdog and others. Go ahead, Jason. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Alex, you there?
Yes, sir.
Hey, guys. Joe, I just want to say, Alex, it's a huge honor to speak with you. America, Freedom, and Fascism was one of the first movies I ever actually watched that woke me up. And I'll never forget the scene from that documentary where the gentleman's business was broken into and his whole life was turned on its head. So I just want to say thank you for all your work.
Do you know why I'm not in that movie?
Why?
I really resent the fact that the TSA was just starting all the genital groping when he was making that in like 2006 or whatever it was. And I was so mad. I was boycotting flying at the time, and Russo wanted to fly me out to California because he was too sick to add a few interviews in there. He didn't want people to know he had cancer. And we were friends. We talked all the time. But I'm like, you know, Joe, just send a I said, Aaron, I said, send a crew out here and do it. And he goes, no, just come out here, Alex. Come on. Come on, sweetie cake. That's how he talked to you off air. Really a New York character and or Brooklyn character. And I'm not in America, Freedom to Fascism. That was a mega hit. Tens of millions saw it. I'm so angry about that, but it's a great film, and I'm glad you raised that. Any questions or comments? You wanted to get into science and industry. Go ahead.
Absolutely. I'm in the field, Alex. I sell capital equipment into the account for the production of vaccines, drugs, you name it, down this whole spectrum, diabetes drugs. And you'd be surprised about the lack of quality control in a lot of these institutions. It's really a joke. We're talking about calibrated instruments, not calibrated for years at a time. It's really, and the science is lacking in itself. I just had one more comment also, if you want. I don't know if you want to do it.
Yeah, go ahead.
But absolutely. All my friends, Alex, I feel like when they go through this awakening process, right? And I wake them up, they get into it, and then they go off the deep end. And Paul Joseph Watson talks about this quite a bit. I find it really interesting where instead of encapsulating all the ideas that are brought to the table on shows like this, they just go off the deep end. They see everything as a conspiracy theory. They can't conceptualize the actual fact.
You know, I'm glad that you just crystallized that, because I want to do a whole video or a whole show. And, of course, one person who's off the deep end isn't off the deep end to another person. People can say I'm off the deep end. But I at least cover things that are really going on. You can disagree with the perspective or how I'm, basically laying it out. But, yeah, a lot of people wake up to what's happening, but then they don't believe anything. And then they almost think they can make reality. That's a conspiracy theorist, is just when they think anything could be if they make it up. They're kind of like fiction writers that apply that to reality. Well, that's what the establishment is. They just make up a bunch of stuff that Obamacare lets you keep your doctor and the Federal Reserve's federal and 2 + 2 = 5. And so it's more just delusion because people are lazy instead of actually... I see this all the time, and I want Joe Bannister's take on it because he's a smart guy. I want his expertise on understanding it. I will go. Here is the passive aerosol spraying program, Department of Energy, $5 billion a year. Here are the patents. They add it to the jet fuel. It aerosolizes. They say it's a global sunscreen program. The guy won the Nobel Prize in '92 for it. But they won't give us the details of what they're doing. They just admit it's happening. And people go, oh, we don't care about that. 20,000 views on YouTube. But then if I just randomly... or one of my reporters calls it chemtrails and says, what's this? And it's just 5 million views and everybody talks about it. It's like Emergency Centers Establishment Act, Civilian Inmate Labor Camp Program, Rex 84, Cable Splicer. These are Miami Herald, congressional studies, videos of C-SPAN. I can prove they've built emergency relocation centers around the country. But if you go point it at some random building and say, we think there might be a guillotine in there, it'll have 50 million views. I won't do that. But I don't get why the public loves to either believe the government lies or the opposite, believe the most vague rumor. But then when you're giving them bona fide proof, they just will not look at it. Joe, have you seen that, or what would you call that paradox?
I have seen it, and I hope I'm not guilty of it myself, but what I try to encourage people to do is remember that as you educate yourself and become more aware, others aren't necessarily following along. And so it's so important so that you stay in tune with those people and you're able to communicate with them. You need to try to remember as best you can what it was like before you were awakened. And I'm not saying to just act like you're asleep, but continue to be calm and patient and, especially the patience. I had a family member, I might have said this to you once before, who was really angry with me when I left the IRS. And I just took it, and I didn't really get that upset about it. And it took a few years, but eventually that family member came to me and apologized without me saying anything about, I've come to realize why you did what you did and how dangerous the things have become. So that kind of illustrates to me how we have to just really muster the patience.
Sure.
And people will come around.
Well, I have a real estate lawyer, and I mean, I don't know him well, but I've just used him on a few, transactions. He's one of the top lawyers in Austin, and he's a former high-level state judge. And I mean, I've had conversations with him, and it sounds like he's, one of us, and the guy's a former Democrat. And then I ran into another high-level state judge, and the guy stops me. And I thought I recognized him. I went and looked him up later, and sure enough, it was him. And he stopped me in an office building, and he goes, I'm Judge such and such. I just want to say, I think you were nuts. But he goes, this IRS thing, targeting families, targeting groups, doing this. He goes, this is totalitarianism. You're absolutely right, and I apologize to you. But I mean, exactly. People who aren't criminals themselves just can't believe it's going on because they're compartmentalized in the system. But as this decompartmentalization happens, people are going to have that moment